Hello. We live in such a noisy world. It's noisy out there, and it's noisy in here. And the voices in here are often derogatory, right? Who are you to be on the stage? What do you have to say that, anyone else in this room couldn't say? Well, why do you get to be out there? Well, you're a fraud, blah, 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 blah. And the voices out here are often telling us how we can be better. Coincidence? It's my personal belief that success in business and in life requires us to be able to discern which voices we listen to. And it's neither of those. It's not the voice inside that tells us that we're crap. And it's not the voices outside in the media and advertising that try and sell us on how we can be better. It's a different voice. It's a quieter voice. It's the wild voice of our intuition. What is intuition? For me, I experience it as a nudge. This way. I once came out of a college I was working in at the time, over a decade ago. I was riding my bicycle. I intended to go left, and the voice, at this point it was a voice actually, it said go right. So I followed the voice, I turned right, and I kept cycling, and I didn't know where I was going, and I kept following. At that point it had just become a nudge, this way, that way. And I ended up back at the bicycle shop, and I walked into the bicycle shop, and there was a man standing there, and I walked straight up to him and I went, hi. And 3 hours later we were still standing in the middle of the bicycle shop and beginning a beautiful holiday romance. Turn right. I'd love to know who here has had an experience like that, a nudge, a knowing, a feeling deep inside that you can't quite describe how you know it, but you know. Yeah. I was at a retreat a couple of weeks ago. We did this amazing exercise. It's a NASA exercise. You land on the moon. Actually, I'm not going to tell you in case you're ever in a retreat where you do it, because it's amazing. So I will skip to the end of the exercise where we were debriefing. And on every single table, there had been a woman who had had a deep knowing about the answer, but had kept quiet. Why? Because she made the assumption that there was someone else on the table with more knowledge. So they must know better. So I'll keep quiet and ignore and override this deep knowing that I can't possibly explain, and I have no proof, so I must be wrong, I must be weird. They seem more confident. They seem to have more information. That's all it was. They just seemed to have more information. They seemed more confident. Every single table who had done this exercise, there was some version of that. So I'd also like to ask, have you ever had that experience of not speaking up or not acting, thank you, on that intuitive nudging because of, what if I'm wrong? Creeping up. Yeah. And it's not surprising because we are schooled out of it from a very, very young age. And we are schooled into getting the right answer that the teacher already knows. We're not trained in trusting that deep inner knowing, and we were once burnt for it. So it's not surprising that we're sometimes scared to trust it and to act in accordance with it when we have no proof to back it up. Has anyone watched Moana? So good, right? It's like my current favourite film. And the wayfinders, the pioneers, when they're looking for a new island, they read the currents and they read the stars. It's probably really wrong, but they read the stars, right? And they sense things, and they sense this island rising in the distance. And the myth goes that it is the act of them sensing the rising of the island that has the island rise. So it's also not a one-way thing. And who knows if that's true. But I think we could all do with a little loosening of our grip of what we think is real and what's not. Because the truth is we don't know. We don't know what the world is going to be in 10 years' time, let alone 10,000, right? And ironically, it's very irrational to think that we can plan for the future with our rational mind, which only knows the past. It's so irrational. And so my belief is that the more of us who dare to listen and act on, it's a whole other step, right? That wild, wise voice of our intuition. Not only will the more magic, miracles, synchronicity we personally experience, but on a much wider realm, we will see those results happening. So who would like to hear my way of being able to hear and trust your intuition more? Would anyone like that? Yes? Great. Okay. So as a coach, you have to have your system, right? Everyone's got to have a coach. Guess how many steps there are? There's never 4, right? 3, 5. There's never 4. There's never 4 steps to anything, is there? There's never 8. It's always an odd number. Anyway, so I've got 3 steps, okay? And it's to get you off the path of essentially looking for approval, climbing ladders up the wrong walls, and basing your success on other people's opinions, and onto the much more fun path where you're in the right place at the right time and you meet the right people and life starts to feel like magic. Pardon? Which pill? The blue pill. Yes, I love it. Yes. Okay, so this path, it's like we think life is a race, right? You're born, and it's like ready, set, go, and you go, climb a few ladders, maybe have a couple of years retiring, maybe go on a cruise, die. This path is the antidote of that. So it's not get ready, get set, go. It's get ready in a different way. Stop and flow. So the get ready stage is a really, really important one. And I actually did it when I asked you, do you want to hear this? Because you have to be on board. You have to want it. So as a coach, I get told to sell the outcome, sell location freedom, sell working on a beach on a laptop. Have you ever tried to work on a beach on a laptop? It's horrendous. And if I only ever sold the outcome, and there are some beautiful outcomes, joy, freedom, real connection because you're being real. But if I only ever sold the outcome and I didn't talk to people and I didn't say, are you prepared? Are you ready to do what it takes? Are you ready to change, to have change? Then they would just want a magic pill. And they'd want me to be the magic pill for them. And I'd be having to work very, very hard, not getting, the fulfillment of seeing them change. So they have to be ready to have change. And it is a different way of living. It's like for a while you're a salmon swimming upstream. That's why you have to come to places like this. I love that you're here because you get to meet the other salmons, right, that want this kind of life. And that look at you like, yes, and make signs for you that say yes, instead of, what? So getting ready is all about setting the intention, making the decision that you want and you're willing to make the change. Stopping seems counterintuitive and it scares some people. They think, it's almost like there's this fear that if I stop, I'll never get up again. But as we've talked about, the evolutionary impulse, that never happens. None of us can rest too much. Once you've rested enough, once you've had deep, deep soul rest, something in you goes, go! Now, this idea, follow that. So the stop section actually has 3 parts, which is stop, listen, because it's only in the space to the whispers, and there are some very practical steps you can create. Clutter clear, create space in your diary and don't leave it as empty space. Get a big fat pen and draw a boundary around it so nothing can get in it. That's my space time. Yes. Stop, listen, respond. So follow that natural evolutionary impulse to life, to live, and then flow. And flow is about being in flow. So I talked about that, being on path, being on purpose. It's where the magic and the miracles happen. It's also about working in your flow. So Gay Hendricks calls it your zone of genius. I call it your zone of magic. When you're working in your zone of magic, what you do looks like magic. So I had a client on Friday say, you're a magician. And I look like a magician to her because I'm working in my zone of genius, or zone of magic, helping her find her true calling, her true purpose in life, and expressing it in words and in her work. So when you're in your flow, it looks like magic. And it's also about being flow. So being a creative expression, being an expression of life, big L, life. And that's what happens when you stop trying to get it right over here and you start listening to your own inner guidance over here. And not listening to yourself is painful. And I don't want anyone to have to experience that. And that's why I do the work in the world that I do, helping you to hear your wise, wild voice and trust it enough and have the support of enough other wild weirdos on your path with you. And your life might look a little bit weird from the outside to those that don't get it. But personally, that's a choice I'm willing to make. Are you with me? Thank you.
Thank you.